suck at intros, so tell me how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really well. It's crazy because right now in Atlanta, there are multiple protests going on due to another killing of an unarmed Black man. So, I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm in good spirits, just trying to figure out what's going to happen to our city and see if it's going to be a repeat of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I heard about the that new shooting, the Rayshard Brooks shooting. Yeah, it is tragic. Again, it's like I really hope we don't have to go through this process again. But yeah. So to give a quick background, we're meeting for the first time. We actually met through social media. Actually, I commented on a post you made. If if I'm remembering correctly, it was the post had something to do with you said slavery still exists, and of course I said, well, yeah, of course it exists. Through the NCAA, prison labor through mass incarceration, and also the way these big companies that hire labor from immigrants while threatening them with deportation.
Right. I mean, so yeah, I spoke about slavery still being legal in America, partly because with all the protesting going on against police brutality, which I understand, but I just wanted to shine light on it doesn't matter how much we protest against police brutality, the system still remains. Slavery is definitely still legal here. All the things that you mentioned are great points of slavery being legal, as well as the prison system. When we had the Emancipation Proclamation, it supposedly ended slavery. In my opinion, it didn't end anything. It just changed the narrative. They made a 13th Amendment, which allowed slavery to still be legal as a punishment for a crime, meaning that anytime you go to jail, anytime you go to prison, you are now a slave in the eyes of the law. You can break it down even further and go into, like you said, the NCAA. We see athletes year after year after year. I believe Reggie Bush was just welcomed back into Florida State after,
USC.
Yeah, USC
I,
after
I was
losing.
I was actually I actually was planning to bring that up to you, the Reggie Bush situation.
He
Basically,
lost everything. You know what I mean? And he was like the best ever. And I just feel like it's so crazy that you want to be able to provide for your family, get a little money in, because a lot of those athletes, they come from nothing, and the schools are making millions and millions of dollars. So I think that the NCAA is a great example of slavery still being legal here.
yeah, it's really weird, like, because a lot the ESPN always comes out with their top 300 recruits, and there's always under the table money handed out. Reggie Bush was just taking rent money for his family. It was.
Can you believe that they would literally strip you of everything for you having rent money for your family while you're getting the school millions of dollars? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in profession, and if that was a pro league, I say they got him for that. That's like one of the biggest discounts you could ever get a star player for. Reggie Bush became probably the greatest college running back, and they find out he just took that his family was receiving some rent money, so they wouldn't get evicted while he was at school.
Not trying to buy jewelry, not trying to buy clothes, not trying to live a lavish lifestyle. His family is trying to have rent while their son is in college. That's ridiculous to me. And we see stories like that all of the time,
Yeah, and what fucked me up about it was, what really angered me about it was they took his Heisman Trophy 5 years after he left school. So basically, it's not only is it wrong, it's also petty. Like,
I think that they did it to, in my opinion, I feel like it was to set the standard to let anyone else know. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how much you bring in. It doesn't matter what you go on to do. We can strip you of everything. It's almost like a way to let incoming athletes know that don't fuck with us. You know what I mean? Like, we will take everything from you. It doesn't matter how long it's been since you played for us at our university. I don't care if you're in the NFL, we can still strip you of your honors. And it's disgusting, quite frankly.
It's worse for football players because the NFL, the National Football League, has a rule. You have to be 2 years removed from high school, and it's really hard to be 2 years removed from high school without going to college and being drafted into an NFL team. That's what a lot of basketball players are doing. They're not drafting basketball players out of high school anymore. So what they're doing is they're going to Europe because they don't want to be pimped out by the NCAA.
Right. There's, I mean, if you think about it, there's pimping on every level. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. Like, we can talk about sports. I mean, there's so much going on, but it all comes down to living in a capitalist society. A lot of times, let's see, we're protesting, we want change, we want police reform, we want all of these things. But when you live in a capitalist society, it's kind of hard to have morals and ethics. I don't believe that the system can be fixed because everything is about money. Everything is about how much money you can make. You can pay off anybody for anything. So at the end of the day, even as a Black person, even as a Latina person, if you have a certain amount of money and you commit a crime, you can pay off whoever you need to make the crime go away. It's all about money here. And growing up, we were always taught, I don't know about you, but in my middle school and elementary school, the word communist was like a slur. It's like you don't want to hear anything like that. Like, teachers made it seem like the worst type of country to live in. We praise America, we praise it for being like the land of the free, home of the brave, where you can make any of your dreams happen. But when you really look up under the table, it's like a lot of dirt,
Yeah, I watched the that point you brought up. It's all about money. I watched the Meek Mill documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Amazon Prime. I watched it, and it really it really exposes for how dirty the criminal justice system is, especially for people of
Oh
color. Now,
gosh.
also they also mentioned it's better. You're better off being rich and guilty than innocent and poor. That's
Hmm.
that basically sums up the justice system.
And it's basically because, okay, even if you're being innocent and you're poor, you're gonna get a public defender. The public defender's job isn't to prove your innocence; it's to bargain a plea with the DA. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how innocent you are; they don't want to prove you innocent because there's no money being made off of the innocent case unless you're paying for it. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because I had to go through a case of my own, and I experienced firsthand paying the lawyer, seeing my lawyer go back and forth with the DA. And I'm pretty sure my lawyer is giving money to the DA. You know what I mean? He's funding his campaigns in order to get a more lenient sentence for me. So it's a vicious cycle. And sometimes my head spins because I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel trying to keep up with it, because you feel like you're getting somewhere and you're doing good, and then another thing unfolds. So you mentioning Meek Mill, have you seen Jeffrey, how do you say his name? Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah,
Epstein?
I haven't seen this documentary. I'm planning on checking it out.
Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but watch it, and it's gonna blow your mind. There's so much sick things going on with our politicians, with people that we put in charge, that we go, we have this sense of like comfortability. We think that people above us are doing the right things, and they're keeping order, and there's so much under the table things going on, sex trafficking, um, minors, you know what I mean? Drug cartels, but it's really the government. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is pretty insane, especially I forgot what point I was about to bring up, but yeah, it's when you can be you shouldn't be. It's kind of messed up how you could be so powerful to the point where rules don't apply to you.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing about I don't know, I haven't watched the documentary, but I think I've heard enough about Jeffrey Epstein uh, that we don't. The fact that we don't know enough should tell us that we know enough about him. Like, no one knows how he got his money. No one knows how he became a billionaire. No one knows how he was able to get away with all this.
Mm-mm. And for me, what I always like to talk about, and I tell my followers all the time, there's always going to be bad in the world. There's so much going on that we can't control. There's so many things that are just moving in motion that literally, no matter how much we try, like, we can't control it. We can't stop it. The only thing that we can control are our actions. I tell people all the time, try to have positive intentions, try to be a positive person, because we live in a dark, dark world. But we live in a world that is what we make it. And so a lot of the times, if my perspective is positive and I'm happy and I'm in a good place, the world to me is in a good place. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty outside. I can hear the birds. I see people smiling. I see people doing good in their community. But when I'm walking around and I have all of this on my mind and I'm dark, I see the darkness of the world even more. And so it's kind of like, for me, it's more so balancing like who I am and trying to just see the good in the world, because I mean, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be evil people. It's always going to be, people that choose to do wrong, unless it became a society where you kill people for like doing certain things, and I don't ever see that happening. I
Yeah.
don't.
So speaking on that, like one thing I wanted to talk to you about, like, what do you feel like are challenges? Of course, we all, as people of color, I'm a person of color, I'm Latino, but of course, we all have our own challenges. But what do you feel like is a specific, a certain challenge women of color have to deal with?
For me, as a woman of color, a huge challenge that I face every day is, for one, being able to keep my identity. It doesn't matter where I go to work, where I apply, I get better results if my hair is straighter. You know what I mean? Like, if it's done a certain way, if I look a certain way. So for one thing, it's being able to keep my identity and be comfortable with it. That's one of my biggest challenges. The second huge challenge as a woman of color is the structure of our family. I grew up with a family with no men in sight, literally, like no men, whether it's prison, whether it's they've left their kids or whatever, there's no men. So as a woman of color, I feel like we're always having to be stronger. We don't really know our place as far as being a woman, because you're having to take on the role of a woman and a man. And so I think it's kind of harder for me to even grow up and become a young lady, because I've had to be forced and focused on doing so much other things. You know what I mean? So that's really hard. Another thing is just lack of resources. I think as a woman of color, it's a little bit easier for us than it is for a man, because as a woman, period, we can get our way a little bit better with things by using, our looks or our bodies, our charm. It's a little bit easier for us, but there's a lack of resource, and I feel like there's a lack of hope. I grew up seeing everyone pregnant before 17, literally, people dropping out of high school for having children. And so, yeah, those would be, I'd say, my top four things. The family construct, lack of resources, keeping my identity intact, and a lack of hope. And I'm pretty sure yours will probably be way different than mine, because you're a guy, you probably have different experiences.
Yeah, I have that. I try to maintain a healthy level of awareness. I try to be aware of my own privilege. I'm like, yeah, I'm Latino, but damn, like, this is like, you ever like look at the mirror for a very long time for some reason late at night before I'm brushing? I'm looking in the mirror for a long time while brushing my teeth, and I'm like, wow, I don't have to. I don't have to give birth. I don't have to worry about being assaulted at any workplace. Mostly, and then like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm raised. I have. I was raised by women. My father, my father made me the man I am today. But thank God, because I was raised by women. It was either my mother. I have five sisters. And when my parents were working over, I always stayed the weekend over at grandma's house while grandpa was working. And when she couldn't take care of me, my aunt pitched in. My tia Glenda, my tia Luz, they pitched in. So basically, I was raised with women, and like, then like, to maintain some level of awareness, I got to realize that like, it ain't easy for them either, and it's maybe even
Right.
harder. Like, there's
It's
no bigger threat to a woman than a man, which
And
is.
you said something there when you said sexual assault, because being a woman of color, whether you're Black, Latina, it doesn't matter. If you have color and you're a woman, if you're raped, you're assaulted, you're drugged of any type of nature, it's so hard for you to even talk about it. You know what I mean? For you to get it proven, for there to be an investigation, for someone to look into it, because it's dismissed. You know what I mean? When rather, if you're white and you even make a claim, it's like all hands on deck. So women of color really have it hard as far as sexual assault, kidnapping. Like, our numbers staggered in comparison to any other race. It's, you know, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when you said that, I'm like, dang, that's true.
It's all right. Yeah, but like then again, there's like no bigger threat to a woman than another man, which mathematically possible. You know, I'm going on a date with a girl, and she says, "Where's this going?" Probably to your death. I don't know. That's where the odds look at it.
No,
But
no.
I'm sorry. That's
Did you see the young lady though? Now that you're speaking on that, she was a young Black woman. I won't say her name because I don't want to say the wrong name, but she literally was out protesting, needed some help, and ended up being sexually assaulted. And she's a Black woman. And it's just like, in the midst of all this protesting, I've been having to say, wow, we can't say we want justice and we want peace, and our women are literally being assaulted, you know what I mean, on a day-to-day basis. It's like you said, there literally is no bigger threat to a woman than a man. Seriously.
yeah. Like I said, we're the number one cause of
I have a
injuries and
question for
everything.
you.
What's up?
Okay, with you being light-skinned, how has it been for you as far as to understand your privilege, or for you to speak on certain things, or like for you to not, like, do you ever feel like you can't speak on certain things because you're going to get backlash, or people are going to be looking at you crazy, or your view is invalid? Because I've had to deal with that a
Oh
lot.
no, I listen. I stand by the side of my Black brothers and sisters. You know, I preach this all the time. Black love, brown pride. You know,
Right.
I'm not one of these people saying I have a lot of Black friends. That's not what I'm saying. But that's not what I like to say because I know that's gonna portray me as a racist. But I still like I know the way I look. I'm Mexican and I'm half Mexican, half Salvadorian, all Latino. My mother looks Indian. Like I have ancestry of native ancestry. You know, I probably I'm a descendant of Aztec warriors. But yeah, but like I know how I look. Probably there's some Spanish in here, which explains why. And like I'm I'm kind of upset about it. I like to joke a lot about it. I'm what they call undercover white. Um, I can like only other Latinos could look at me and say, "Oh yeah, he's one of us." But like I look Italian as fuck. That's why I look like
Well,
a
see, I
macho.
couldn't guess, so I didn't want to guess. Like, I was like, I'll let him tell me. Like, I didn't want to be like trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
yeah. But I know I have more privilege because of how I look. Of course, if I stand in the sun too long, I do get a little darker, and I look. That's where you see the bit of nativism in me. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, as long as you know, I get. I know how I look, and I try to, like I said, I try to be aware of it. You know,
Right.
but I always, I'm all for the cause. I'm proud to be Latino. I have Mexico jerseys up every time the World Cup is on. I have my Mexican jersey is hanging up in my wall. I have a Mexico jersey, and I have a Salvador jersey, even though the team sucks. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm proud, and I stand by my I see these I see my Black brothers and sisters as my allies. You know, we got to stick together.
Right. I mean, I'm very happy you think like that, because it's already hard enough if you live in America. Like, I think that's one of the biggest divides that we have to conquer. It's not a black and white thing. I feel like all people of color literally have to deal with some type of a struggle. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your background is. If you have color, like, yeah, okay, you're fairer skinned, so of course you're gonna have a little more privilege, but you still see on a day-to-day basis what's going on. You're aware, you know what I mean? Like, you're not blind to it. And I feel like all people of color should be able to band together and say, hey, this isn't right. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't just have to be a black and white issue.
Like when racism go seems to like die down a bit, and then colorism tries to go up. I don't know if you've seen. There's a lot of fighting on social media, Twitter and Instagram about colorism. You know,
Yeah.
dark skin women and dark skin people in general and light skin, and they're saying,
You
oh,
know,
these
and that's
go ahead.
oh no, that's why I asked you that, because amidst all the protesting, there has now turned into color skews. And me being a light skinned woman, especially been raised in the South, like I've seen firsthand, like, okay, yes, I know very well that I'm lighter skinned. I know that I'm a black woman though. You know what I mean? It's very hard when you're in the middle because I have darker siblings. And so it's like growing up and me seeing, okay, like how someone will interact with me versus how one will interact with my browner brother. It fucks you up in the head. You know what I mean? It makes you feel crazy because now you're feeling like, what do I do? And so for me, it's always like, I think I'm always going so hard and trying so hard to enlighten people, talk about facts, bring awareness because, you know, it's sad to see. It's crazy. And I think as a light skinned woman, the only thing that I can do is listen to the conversation, listen to people's views who have darker skin tones, understand how they feel, you know what I mean? Try not to get offended, try to listen to them, but it has to be a two-way street. It has to go the same way because just because you're lighter, it doesn't mean that you haven't felt injustices as well, you know?
Yeah. I know you can't tell right now because I'm using curtain lighting. I don't have a light. I'm pretty. I look darker than I do on camera. But
I feel
you know,
like
I
we're
do
about the
have.
same shade.
Yeah. I remember playing football. When I was playing football, you know, I during the wintertime, I had a long sleeve. You know, my helmet was on, and I was wearing number 81. And there was like people in the stands say, "Hey, who's that light skinned dude wearing number 81?" And then I took off my helmet, and they see my hair flowing, and then it was like, "Oh, damn, he's." But you know, it's yeah, that is another big problem. And like you said, I also have family members that are darker than me. That you know, Mexican culture. You know, the thing about the Mexican culture is like there was the Spanish took over Mexico, the Spaniards, the conquistadors, while the English settlers took over the Americas, you know, with Jamestown and everything. But you know, it was the conquistadors that came into Mexico. The mission wasn't really to their mission wasn't really to you know to murder everyone like the American natives, like the Cherokee and the Native Americans that were living on this side, but well, when the conquistadors came to Mexico, to what is now known as Mexico, the mission was more to convert into Catholicism, to set up missionaries, and also rape the women. And they killed the men, but raped the women. It wasn't really kill everyone. It wasn't really as much as a mass murder, a mass genocide, more of a mass pillage and a mass conversion. So
Right.
that's where that's why that's why in Mexico like we maintained our you know our you know melanin, our dark skin tone. I think there's some Spanish on my dad's side. So I'm pretty sure there's also some Aztec in there, you know. But I, I I'm
Right.
you know, I try to educate myself on the on the history of my people. That's why I left. I'm not Catholic anymore. I don't follow the faith anymore because it was given to me by the people who stole our land.
Same with me for Christianity. You know, like I'm all about love, I'm all about spirituality, but I don't follow the religion.
You ever read up on Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X?
Hmm.
They changed their last names because it was not only was it given to them by slaves, not only that they converted to Islam because
Hmm.
like D.L. Hughley says, the same people that gave you the N word, this are the same people who gave you God. So
Yeah.
that
How can
led
you praise it?
yeah, yeah. So that's why my family it's too late for my family. My father's 62, my mother's 52.
Right.
My they're it's too late for them. They're stuck in their ways. They grew up on the book. My father read the Bible over and over again. So
Yeah.
my mother went to church ever since she was a little girl. I don't go to church, you know, because ever since they moved to America, you know, it's always well they haven't they've always kept working. But you know, it kind of messed me up when I found out I was being raised Catholic. Then I went to history class in high school and found out not everybody in the world is Catholic. Then there's Muslim, there's Jews, and there's
Right.
Jewish, there's Buddhist, and I was then who's right? Who's right? Which one of these people are right? Then I go back. Oh, Catholicism was brought in. The Aztecs were actually we had gods. We prayed to the moon, the sun. We were scientists.
Mhm.
We invented the number zero. We were actually advanced in space, in studying space, and that was all
Yeah, and
taken away from us.
they it's so crazy you said that because okay, so my family was raised under the Nation of Islam on my mom's side. So I have a grandmother, my dad's side, who's super Christian, and then my grandmother, my mom's mom, Nation of Islam. So it was two extreme different beliefs. But just like you said, how your people, smart, advanced, knew all of these things, it's a trend to when someone takes over land, they strip the people of everything, literally everything, their beliefs, their knowledge. Like you said, they kill the men, they rape the women, like they strip them of everything, and they brainwash people into a new set of life, a new set of beliefs to make people think that the people that took them over are smarter, are nicer. Like it's so crazy to me because growing up all of my life, from being young, I looked at America as my home. I knew the American flag, like from pre-K. And by the time I got to history class, I believe it was like third grade, and they started teaching us about the Civil War, and we started going on field trips, and I was going on field trips to like slave houses and things and plantations. It boggled my mind that I'm celebrating 4th of July and I'm celebrating this and I'm saluting an American flag, and the history that you're showing me and you're saying it's history, it's still present day and it's bad history. It's like, how can I support this? How can I say, oh yeah, this is so great? And you're literally telling me that y'all came and you slaughtered people. Like, we only speak about slavery. We don't even talk about the massacre of the indigenous people that were here. Like, this was their land and they were literally slaughtered and then pushed off to like small little reservations. It's just crazy when you grow up and you realize all of these things. And it's just like, you're kind of just thinking, like you said, like, who's right? It makes me just want to travel the world, open my mind up to different cultures, see different things out there, learn new religions, just be around different types of people, because there has to be more than this.
Yeah, I started this podcast because I want to be a comedian. I'm a comedian, and everything shut down. I couldn't do stand up, so I started this podcast. But most of my comedy is through pain. Most of my comedy, I talk about stuff. It's exact. Of course, it's exaggeration, but it's mostly about what I learned. Like, I have this one joke I wrote. You know, Mexico, of course, freed their slaves voluntarily, no war. Mexico, we just let them go. We just abolished slavery. And the joke I wrote was, the punchline was, we let them go because we realized we could pick fruit ourselves. And that was like, as soon as I wrote that, I know we're talking serious right now, but like, but we're trying to stay serious right now. But like, of course, that's where then like that comes from like our knowledge of it. We live here in America. Slaves built this country, and Mexicans just maintained it for the past
Mm-hmm.
100 years.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
it. Because if you think about it, like right now, okay, so speaking on Trump, him saying, build a wall, build a wall, build a wall, and he's telling all of his supporters, and they're so happy, and they're ha ha. Okay, but the joke is, first of all, there's no wall that can keep anybody out of this country. I don't know what he's talking about when he says a wall. Second of all of these white people that are so happy to say build a wall, if you look around, their cleaning lady is Hispanic. Their gardener is Hispanic. Their manicurist, like anything that they need done is from someone that's of another origin. No one is American. You get what I mean? Like if all of us literally left this country, white people wouldn't be able to do anything. There are a few of them, but the mass majority, like it would fall to shambles. For one, we talk about slavery. Okay, indentured servants. All of the immigrants, as they say, that come over, I look at them as indentured servants because they're here, they're working for damn near nothing, literally. They manipulate them to say, like, we're going to deport you, or, we're going to send you back. They talk to people like shit, like they're nothing, and they're literally making our country billions and billions of dollars. Billions. There's lawmakers right now that want to talk about illegal immigration and talk about all of these things and say all of these horrible things about immigrants. Meanwhile, they're the ones in charge of the legislation allowing people to come here and do this type of work for no money. You know what I mean? Like, they are allowing these farmers to hire these people. They're the ones pushing these laws. They're the ones giving them federally backed money that us as taxpayers pay for. It's so crazy to me.
You also reminded me of another thing I written. Of course, you know, the way lot of the crime that goes on in Mexico is because of the United States.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like marijuana is illegal in a lot of states here. That jacked the price up. That's allowing the Mexican cartels to make their profit and to exist and to remain powerful in Mexico. But yeah, the way like I said, you know, the wall, they say it's already under construction. But the way 2020 is going, by the time they finish it, we're gonna be the ones going up that wall.
Whew, you said something there. And these folks talking about a wall, and they're talking about drugs this, drugs that. Like, we don't know who brings the drugs over here.
That's not going to change anything. You want to know why? Because the way my father became a citizen, he had a passport. He lived in a border town, and he just visited here on vacation while getting his paperwork ready. Like every 3 days, he'd stop by, and while they were getting his paperwork, well, they were getting all these stuff ready. He was just going back every 3 days, saying, "Yeah, I'm here for a 3 day vacation, if you know what I mean." And
Yeah, this.
he's really here just getting visiting per se, and just most of it, that wasn't going to stop nothing.
The wall is irrelevant. The wall is just for his supporters that are ignorant, that just want to blame someone and want something to talk about, because he knows himself. The wall has nothing to do with anything, literally. That's just like how I can't stand when people talk about the Iraqi wars, or they talk about 9/11, and they talk about how, brown people are so evil and this and that. Like, we are the ones doing everything to these countries. We go, we steal everyone's natural resources. We go, we try to govern land that isn't ours. Like, I literally, I can't comprehend it. I don't understand. Like, even when they say, like, respect our soldiers, salute the flag. Do these soldiers even know what they're fighting for? Because to me, I look at Americans, and I mean this in the most sincerest way. I look at us as terrorists. I look at our country as a country full of terrorists. Like, we call every other country, like, oh, they're terrorizing us. They're terrorists. They're coming trying to blow us up. We started it. Look at how our country started. You know what I mean? And we're still doing it to other people. Like, we're literally terrorists, and I'm ashamed to be an American. I say it all the time. Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, we are an empire. We went to war with the wrong country on purpose just for oil.
Just
And
for oil. And if you say that to someone that has a soldier in their family, they'll break down crying. They'll tell you how you're so disrespectful for not worshiping the people that protect us and keep us, the land of the free. It's
that's
embarrassing.
that that's what made George W. Bush a war criminal. You used 9/11 to go to war with Iraq, even though they had nothing to do
Nothing to
with
do
it.
with it. Nothing to do with it. And people can say what they want about Donald Trump. The one thing I can say is I am happy that he has become our president, because all the presidents before him thought the same way that he does. They say the same exact things. They're just not bold enough to say it on camera. And people have been living a lie to think that anything has changed and that, people actually care. And by him being our president, it's literally showing people, hey, dang, I need to really look into what's going on, because if this is who's in charge and he's saying this stuff, it makes you think, who is on our legislative branch? Who are these people that are writing our laws? You know what I mean? Like, let's take a deeper look into it, because he has literally shown us what a lot of people genuinely believe and say and think of people of color.
I was um I was critical of Obama because of his immigration policy. Then again, I don't blame him. Here's how bad Donald Trump is. I was critical of Obama. I thought he did pretty. I thought he did what he could do, but like I didn't think he did enough. But then Trump came and I was like, he just made Obama look so good. Like Obama deported us, but he didn't break up the families and put our kids in cages. That's what really did it for me. I was like,
Let me tell you.
at least on the, like they say, Obama deported more immigrants than deported more immigrants than any other presidential administration. And that was, yes, because probably because when the Bush administration ended, the economy was down. You had soldiers in you were soldiers in the country that you can't pull out. You also the like I said, the economy was like shitty. It was we were in the recession, almost like so close to being in another depression. And
Right.
like you get this broken down country, uh, everything is everything is on fire, and you expect this guy to fix it in 8 years. And what people don't bring out is that Obama's immigration deportation numbers were going down by the end of his administration. And at least the only difference is when you get deported under the Obama administration, you at least get to try again. Like your entire family gets sent back, and you're dropped off at the line.
And you know, it's crazy because for me, like I've never experienced, like I don't know anyone that's ever been deported. And I mean, I'm from Macon, Georgia. Growing up, like I didn't even know, like those aren't questions that ever came up. Like I never knew if someone was an immigrant. You know what I mean? Like excuse me, it's crazy because you never, like I said, as a child, you don't think of any of those things. You're just a child growing up. You just see people that look different than you. You make friends. You know your classmates' names. Like you don't think about like, hey, does my classmate have to fear being deported? Like you never think about any of these things. And the older I get, the more stories I hear. It's just it's sad and it's crazy because we had a chance at a president who had no money from outside influences, which was Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders, to me, was the best hope that we had as far as moving towards a society in America that could be better than its past. The reason that Bernie Sanders, I think they sabotaged him both times that he
Oh yeah,
ran
they
for
did.
president because they knew that with him as a president, things would change. Obama, yay, we had our first Black president, but Obama had a lot of money coming in from outside sources. So even as a president, you don't get to do exactly what you want to do once you start taking funding from people.
He fucked
Trump, on the
he
other
fucked
hand,
over Wall Street.
oh God.
Like he said, he took money from Wall Street. Maybe like Wall Street was like, maybe he'll help us out. He'll bail us out. But no, he fucked them over. He passed some Wall Street. He passed Wall Street reform. Then his second election, they didn't give him as much. Yeah, he fucked them over again.
It's like, people just have to know, like, politics is a very dirty game. It's very, very dirty. Like, it's so dirty. And that's why people don't like Trump because he has so much money and like his allies have so much money that there's really not anything that he needs from anyone else. So he can just do what he wants to do. And I really have been talking about this for the longest. As soon as the coronavirus, they started telling us about it in America, because I had already started seeing about it last November. And I was talking to my followers about it. I'm like, hey, y'all need to start doing some research, some things going on out here in the world. When they started telling us about it in February, at the exact moment that they started broadcasting it to us in the United States and making it this widespread panic, Vladimir Putin was voting, he had his constituents voting on a law that would allow him to run again for presidency. And if it was passed, it would make him the longest reigning regime since Joseph Stalin. And the way he was able to do it was his country was in an economic unrest. It was like basically like a recession. And so it was unstable. And so he was able to go ahead and propose a new law. And it's crazy because I don't know if you saw this, but I think it was like a year ago, Trump's campaign, his re-election campaign, he had Trump signs like 2020, 2024, 2028. It was like a long line of Trump just after and after and after. And so I really have been feeling like this whole time, this coronavirus has been to reset our economy, to put us in a recession, to just make us unstable. And as you've seen, it's impacted our voting. It's impacted so much on these political rallies. Like people haven't been able to campaign like they needed to, and now they're talking about mailing in ballots. So I'm almost 100% guaranteed that we're going to have another term of Trump. What do you think?
Even if he loses, he's not going to be he's gonna lock himself in that house and just have a
That's what I'm
standoff.
saying. We're gonna have him again. Like he's not.
But if like it's growing such a fear, it's growing such fear in with my people in my community. I have a cousin. You know, his both his parents are from El Salvador. He's a baby, but they named him Jason because they're afraid that he will be treated differently because
His
of
name.
his yeah because of his heritage. I have a cousin born in El Salvador. Sorry about that. I have a cousin born in El Salvador. Uh, his name is Anderson. They're giving our. I have another cousin named Christian. I have. It's growing such fear in our community that we're breaking tradition in order to appease, in order to survive, like in this country, in this culture, because it's all survival.
Yeah, that's similar to like having a super black name and you not wanting to use your name like on a job interview or application because you feel like they're not even going to give you an interview because of your name. You know what I mean? Like they're automatically going to assume like, oh, there's this black ass. You know what I mean? Like that's how people think. So that's very sad to hear. Um, wow, it's just crazy when you really talk to people and you realize like what's going on in your community, you know, how your people are feeling, because a lot of the times we're so stuck in our own bubble and seeing all that we have to face and go through that you don't even realize, like, damn, like, y'all have it bad too. You know what I mean? Like, and not just your community, Asians, you know, like, I just feel like anyone that comes over to America, if you have color to you, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And I just want to get to a point where, because okay, so I really don't know my heritage. Like I know who my mom is, I know who my dad is, I know who my family is, but I don't really know like where we come from. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of people that live here that are like that. Like we don't know where we're from. Like I don't know how to trace back and see like exactly like who I am or what I am. And it's crazy because they say like ancestry.com, and I tell people all the time, don't use that. Like, don't use that website. Do not go on there because they're taking people's DNA and they're convicting people of crimes that they haven't convicted, like they haven't committed. So it's like for me, I'm trying to go on this journey to exactly figure out who I am. So I think it's like I'm always jealous of people that come over here and they actually know their roots, because I'm like, geez, like you at least know like where you're from. Like you have heritage, like how you said, like your family's breaking its heritage. Like at least you know heritage. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people we don't even know. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I hope I know. I haven't really taken. I'm pretty sure there's like some Turkish immigrant in there's some Turkish immigrant in there that went to
No.
Mexico at some point. But yeah, look, I appreciate you coming on here. You know,
Oh
to
yeah,
you
our
come.
time's up. I'm just rambling on.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I appreciate you coming on here. You know, to have a conversation that was much needed. Calling you from Atlanta. That's it's again. I really appreciate you coming on here. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just like to say thank you for having me on. Thank you for having an open, intelligent conversation with me. We need more of these. And also to anyone that's out here that's watching, y'all stay positive, stay bright. And as always, just be yourself, love yourself, and always put love out into the universe. It will come back to you.
All right, Diamond. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks. Bye.